You'll just come in with these stats sometimes. Like, where did you find this stat?
Yeah.
So can you give us the stat against teams 500 or better for the Suns?
Yeah, talking about the Phoenix Suns right now, this is something that I just happened to stumble across, Basinonians. And look, let me find it right here. I want to make sure that I've got it right. The Suns are 15-16 versus opponents with records of 500 or better. Okay? 15-16 right now. And what's really interesting, of course, is you look at 14 of their total 26 games remaining. Okay, no, that's not the one right there. I'm sorry. 18 are against teams with records of 500 or better.
Yeah.
I'm butchering this.
No,
this is why I'm not a driver, ladies and gentlemen, okay? This is why I'm not. But to me, again, they're 15-16 against opponents that are 500 or better, and they've got 18. They had 19 before last night. The Mavericks are above 500, okay? So now it's 18. 18 of them are against teams that are 500 or better.
Well, and we don't need to sugarcoat it. Every team in the playoffs is 500 or better. And that, at this point, is what we really care about, right?
Right. Well, there's 26 games, and again, 18 of those games are going to be against teams that are 500 or better, and they've got a sub-500 record against said 500 or better.
Now, some of those games, I remember at the start of the season, we were looking at this a lot, and it was like the teams that were in the top 6 in the Western Conference, the Suns, I think for a while they were like 1-7 against those teams. They had beaten Minnesota, but they had lost a couple of the Clippers. Like they just hadn't played a ton of games against them, but they had lost a lot more than they had won. And I do kind of separate the pre-Christmas season for the Suns, just in the sense that the Big Three almost never played together. They just never really looked right as a team in that first stretch, which is to be understandable or acceptable if they then look a lot better in the second half, which they have. Setting last night aside, they have looked a lot better. And also, 4 of the guys that were on the team for the first 40 or so games of the season aren't even on the team anymore. But you can't just ignore that either because, 18 of the final 26, and 100% of the games after those 26, every single playoff team is going to be a game is going to be against a good team, and you're not going to make it through the playoffs if you're sub 500 against those teams.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why, again, I think I'm really bothered by these lapses that we see from the Phoenix Suns. What was the run you were talking about? 33-9?
33-9.
Was that it right there?
Yeah.
These lapses that we see from them from time to time.
They went from being up 54-43, a few minutes left in the first half, to down 76-63 in the third quarter.
Yes. And, that to me is something that bothers me because these lapses, more times than not, they're costing them games when they play teams that are 500 or better. And that's bothers me. And again, I know the Big Three, they haven't all played together. And Wolf, we saw when the Big Three did play together, their sample size, they were 19-7, right? Or they didn't play in all three.
They didn't play in all of them, but that was the stretch
that
of the
I'm
season.
throwing out right now. These numbers,
I take back what I said at the start.
Are you okay? Are you all right out there,
I don't know. I don't know about all your stats.
Can you actually listen and follow on this right now, what I'm saying?
Look, I've been taking notes, and I can't.
Yeah, once again, it's just a situation where I'd love to see the Phoenix Suns even out their performance and become more consistent. Okay, you're going to have your ebb and your flow. You're going to have your peaks. You're going to have your valleys. I would just like to see them a lot more consistent in their approach and not come out of the tunnel and give up a 15-0 run.
It kind of breaks down this way. Like I can look up and down the Western Conference, and I'm like, okay, if the Suns were starting a playoff series tomorrow, how many of these teams would I pick them to win the best of 7? And whether it's fair or not, Minnesota's got a 709 winning percentage this season. It's absurd. But if the Suns were playing Minnesota in the first round, I would pick the Suns. And some of this is matchup based, but like the problem is how many of these would I pick the Suns and how many of them would I feel confident picking the Suns? Like if the Suns are playing Dallas in the best of 7 series right now, would you feel confident the Suns are going to just cruise through that series? No. And if you're going to win the title, And again, maybe that sounds absurd to people, but that's the expectation I'm going to stick with here for this team. If you're going to win the title, you have a series mixed in there where you just destroy the other team. Like the year the Suns went to the finals, remember they just swept Denver?
Yeah.
Like it was like, okay, well, we're done with that. We can kind of rest up while the Clippers get beat up in their series. And then like you tend to not go best of seven all the way to game 7. You can, but that's a really tough way to work through.
So let me ask you this, Luke Lipinski. What about the Suns and your expectation for them the rest of the way? Do they increase their seed or decrease their seed or stay right where they are?
Well, they're technically 7th right now because they've lost the tiebreaker to Dallas. I still think they'll get in the top 6. They're tied with Dallas, but Dallas has the tiebreaker now, and you don't play them again. They're a game back of New Orleans. I still think they're going to be 5 or 6, and that's fine. Just get in the top 6. I just don't know how to wrap my head around this team because there are moments where you're like, dude, maybe Denver can stop them. And then there are other moments where you're like, all right, I'll start scheduling time for the play-in tournament.
Yeah, it's just, again, a situation where they have 26 games remaining. Ron Wolfley reporting, and 18 of those are against teams with 500 or better records. 18. So if they continue the trend and you look at it and they're below 500 against those teams, right, that's obviously not a good thing. 10 of the 18 games are also away games. 10 of those 18 games against teams with 500 or better are away games. And you can see how difficult that is.
Yes.
Why? What are you grinning at?
I started the segment by saying sometimes Wolf shows up with these stats, and you proceeded to throw 475 stats at us in one segment.
Mel, are you following this, Mel? I mean,
it's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of numbers. I can tell you that much.
This is one of the reasons why, my brothers, I have avoided numbers over the years right there.
But now this seems to be your moment to just go all in on numbers.
This is my beautiful part of the program right here. I was going to make up for never doing it in the last 18 years.
I feel like if we had a traffic report right now, it would be like every car on the road has pulled over because they're confused by the Wolf and Luke show.
Yeah, for me, once again, though, in all seriousness, it was that run to start the third quarter. How you start really is an indicator to me. How you start a game and how you start a half. Whether it's the first half, of course, or whether it's going to be the second half, whatever it may be, how you start, I think it speaks to your preparedness, individually, of course, and then collectively. And to see them come out and start the third quarter the way that they did, basically, I said this before, I understand what it's like not to be ready to go. I've gone out there and thought I was ready to go. And I wasn't ready to go. And me being in the NFL was predicated on me being ready to go all the time. Predicated on that. And even I would go out there sometimes and think I was ready to go and was not ready to go. I see this happening a lot with the Suns, where they don't seem to be ready to go. And unfortunately, when they play good teams, I think it costs them.
I think in fairness, we got to give them, I don't want to say a pass, but like I said earlier, I want to see how they respond tonight, how they play this weekend, because it was the first game out of the All-Star break. Dallas is a decent team and a team that seems to be getting better. It pains me to say that. So if they go out there and they handle Houston, they go out there and they win this weekend, if they go on another run, then I can write off what happened last night. I would hope they're not coming out of halftime looking like that ever again. You know what I mean? But at least I could look at it if they start winning again and be like, okay, maybe it was just something, coming out of the All-Star break and you don't have Bradley Beal and, at a certain point they sound like excuses. But for right now, I want to wait and see. The problem is they play Houston 3 of the next 4 games. So what can we really learn about this? How many times do you have to play the Rockets in a week and a half?
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.